Tov, Rabotai, welcome to our Monday night shiur. We have a big zechut tonight. For as long as I remember, as a kid, we grew up on the stories of tzaddikim. I'll be honest with you, the only way we had Yirat Shamayim, the only thing that really kept us going as kids. And we saw a lot, we've been through a lot. But the real only thing, I can talk from my own personal experience that got me through a lot of experiences that made me want to be a better person and want to change myself at the end, was the stories of tzaddikim. Rav Nachman Breslev says the stories of tzaddikim is Maaseh Merkava. It's like you're dealing with Hashem's holy chariot. We all know, we come to this Beit HaKnesset, Atzilut, Beriah, Yitzira, Asiyah. When you learn the stories of tzaddikim, it's much like you're learning the Maaseh Merkava, how Hashem puts his Yud Kei Vav Kei together to create the world. And one of the greatest tzaddikim, I speak about him a lot on my shiur, of Salman, Rav Yudah Ptaya. I was speaking to my students today in class about Rav Yudah Ptaya. Before we start, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors, because sometimes I get carried away in the introduction, then only towards the end I say thank you to the sponsors. So first and foremost, so the first person who answered, Avraham Ben Yosef, Hashem should send you bracha, v'atzlacha, parnasa, refuah, ashirut, kol ha'yishod, kol ha'brachot, zihu agud levitcha, b'ezrat Hashem yitbarach. And also, refuah shlema to Drew Yaakov ben Yehudit Ashena, ולשלום בית לטליה אסתר בת שרה, השם יברך אותם בברכה, רווחה, הצלחה, ישועות גדולות, לכל הישועות. And also for our friend from Alabama, once again, he came in crunch time, Yehoshua Kalev. I don't know his last name, but Hashem should bless him with arbe ashirut and bracha. Zchut et tzaddik yagen alav. And I'm telling you guys, this may be the first time in America somebody made a Hillula for this tzaddik. Probably the first time in America, and I'm telling you, this tzaddik is in the same level, in my opinion, as he was like the Ariya Kadosh of his generation. To this extent, that's what kind of big tzaddik it was. That's how he was something phenomenal. Mamash, they used to call him in Yerushalayim, Malach walking in this earth. Like this, a Malach walking on this earth. And all my life, as I was saying, growing on the Sipurei Tzadikim, especially in Review Daftaya. You guys know his famous book, Minchat Yehuda, and his Pirush on Etz HaChaim Beit Lechem Yehuda. He had one student that he said took my mantle, my continuation. Review Daftaya said this. And that was Rav Salman Mutzufi. I don't have a picture of him over here. I didn't take, and you have it on the phone, say that, but they could see it on the chat. But this is a picture of him over here. It's a drawing actually. And he was a shamash of a Beit HaKnesset. Mamash kacha. He was a shamash in the Beit HaKnesset. What you do? Clean, put this, that's what he used to do. That was his job. That's all he used to do. He had, you know who his student was? The Chazan of the Yeshivat HaMekubalim, Rav Tzion Bracha. And Rav Tzion Bracha, he was the first person who started the Yeshivat L'Shem. When I named this shul, when we named our community, when we just started off as a minyan, I remember selling Hagvaya for 50 cents. And when we first started as minyan, as a serious minyan, we were looking for a name. And I said to myself, the Ben Ish Chai taught Rav Shimon Agassi. Rav Shimon Agassi taught Rav Yudah Ptaya. Rav Yudah Ptaya taught Rav Salman Mutzufi. Rav Salman Mutzufi taught Rav Tzion Bracha, and we're the continuation of Tzion Bracha. I said we have to call us L'Shem, La'akamash Shkeintav Afra, L'Shem, Yichud Kuchav Rav Shkeintav. And for the first time in my life, my father agreed with me on something. Usually he likes to take the name this, that, but he said, yes, I was surprised. He wanted to call the Beit HaKnesset, the community, or Meir. I said, we have a lot of mayors out there. L'Shem, and he agreed. It was Mamash L'Shem Shamayim. And every day before Sukkot, we celebrate Hillula of Tzion Bracha, but today's the first time our shul is celebrating his Rebbe's Hillula of Salman Mutzufi. And he was such a big tzaddik, he was the last person to get smicha from Rabbi Daftai. And Rabbi Daftai had smicha from Rav Abdullah Somich, who was the brother-in-law of the Ben Ish Chai and the Rebbe of Baghdad, who had smicha from his Rebbe before him until the time of the Amoraim. So we're sitting over here, we have a lot of yichus over here. We have a lot of continuation over here. You guys are sitting in the company of tzaddikim. And I'm for sure, I believe that the souls of these tzaddikim are here right now. I believe it in 100%. sometimes we don't have the eyes to see it. And I want to make a crazy sigula, an amazing sigula over here. This is his book. I've been looking for this book, Orach Tzadikim, maybe for 5 years. Who was in Israel? I think my mother was in Israel not long ago, and she asked her niece's husband to look for this sefer. This is a book of tefillot that Salman Mutzufi wrote. A book of tefillot. Before you wear tzitzit, what tefillah you should say. Before you wear tefillin, and he made a special sigula over here where you take 10 men, and they stand in a circle. 10 men, each one has 10 fingers. How many fingers altogether? 100. And we know the secret of David HaMelech, and we do every single day, of Mea Brachot, the 100 blessings. And each one has to put their hands on the head of a person who needs a Yeshua, a salvation, Zivug, Parnasa, Refuah. He's in a Shalom, a court case, and they all say a special prayer over here. And he used to do this special sigula, and people used to see Yeshua. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but it fell out on our day of Ashur, Hillula. I was ecstatic. So therefore, we have a big zechut to be here today in his Hillula, but we also don't forget that today is also the third day of Shovavim. Shovavim HaKadosh, we know there's 40 days from the beginning of Elul until Yom Kippur, 40 days. That starts from the summer and ends in the beginning of the winter. Now we have the last days of the winter, 40 days, hitting to Adar, the beginning of the summer. It's not the beginning of the summer, mamash, but towards the beginning of summer. Spring is coming. These 40 days are the continuation of those 40 days of Elul. We know that Ari HaKadosh writes down in Shar Ruach HaKodesh, Rav Chaim Vital actually writes, he said, I asked my Rebbe, are these 40 days a real day? Are they something that the Jews made up? Unfortunately, we have our brothers. They're also their yeshiva across the street over here, and they also have something for 40 days. They fast for. Also they have that. Those are other brothers from the old country. But over here we have our Al Mahmoud, the Ramadans. They have also 40 days of fasting. Maybe Chas v'Shalom, we Sfaradim, we copied from them these 40 days of fasting. Yeah, maybe we're not. Because Ashkenazim don't do it. They have what? Remember, guys, Ashkenazim don't come from Europe. They come from Italy. When the Jews were in the crisis of the second Beis HaMikdash, Josephus writes that ships of thousands of Jews were sold as slaves to Rome. What do you think? The Jews have a mitzvah of pidyon, shvuim, to buy the Jew back from the goy. They shouldn't be a slave. They used to buy Jews by the busloads over there. Whoever they couldn't buy, they used to be gladiators. Rish Lakish, for example, the brother-in-law of Rabbi Yochanan, he was a gladiator. They say that he was the head of all the mafia, this, that. Rabbi Miller says, no, you guys don't understand. He was a gladiator. He used to have a crew of gladiators, and he was a professional fighter, UFC fighter, but to the death. That's what Rish Lakish was. But the Jews were bought from the Pidyon Shivim in Italy. We know a famous story, Rabbi Ishmael Kohen Gadol. He was bought as a young boy by Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania. As a child, he was bought from captivity. Jews were sold as slaves, as the curses in the parashat Kitavo. There's 2 parashas of curses in the Torah, right? Kitavo Moshe Rabbeinu said. That's 98 curses. There's another parasha, I believe, with 48 curses.
70.
Yeah, no, 48. It's less. I think it's either 48 or 49. It's parashat. Anybody? One of the last parashas of Vayikra. Jewish trivia. Bechukotai, thank you very much. Hashem is very chutcha. Parashat Bechukotai, Hashem said those curses. What's the difference? Moshe said twice as many curses. But Moshe said it, he said it with a lot of mercy in between. Hashem said it less, but when he said it,
Shebang.
To the end, Hashem said it. In Kitavo, one of the curses is that you're going to be sold as slaves, and there's going to be so much of you guys, and nobody's going to want to buy you. You're going to flood the market, and nobody's going to want to buy the Jewish slaves. And that's how it was. Josephus writes this. He was a secular writer. He says he was religious, but he wasn't. Remember, he wrote in Latin. He didn't write in Hebrew. He wrote a second history book in Hebrew for the Jewish people. So he was a nice trickster. But the one he writes in Latin, he writes over there to the Romans, that the Jews were sold as slaves till the point where nobody wanted to buy them. Which is a tema. How many slaves could there be? He estimates that there was about 2 to 3 million people in Jerusalem on Pesach. There isn't 2 to 3 million people, Jews in Jerusalem today. And Jerusalem is 4 or 5 times the size. Imagine how many people used to live in Jerusalem back then when they used to come for the Korban Pesach. There were 600,000 Korbanot. Each one had at least 2 people to them. 1.2 million people in Jerusalem alone. And when did Titus start his siege over Jerusalem for the second temple? It was on Pesach. So imagine how many Jews were crammed in there. And then a year, 2 years later, when Vespasian left and Titus came back, and then Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai was able to take the Jews, the religious ones at least, was able to hide them to Yavne. It was a big catastrophe. And the Jews were sold as slaves to the point where nobody wanted to buy them. It was a big catastrophe in Klal Yisrael. But the Ashkenazi Jews were the Jews that went to Italy. Sephardic Jews didn't go to Italy. They made their way south to North Africa. So you have over there, they went from Israel, Morocco, Tunisia, back to Spain, because the Mediterranean Sea in Spain and Tunisia is right there. They're right next to each other. So they went back to Spain, and then from there, they split north. Right? But then there was another group of Jews that weren't in the Second Temple. They stayed where?
Babylonia.
In Babylonia they stayed. That's where we're from.
Mizrahi.
That's where we're from. The Parthian kingdom, that's our DNA. Most of our DNA is Mesopotamian. If you're going to take a DNA test right now, you're going to find 40 to 50% of your DNA is Mesopotamian.
Whatever you consider Mizrahi?
Mizrahi just means Mesopotamia and on. You understand? From Mesopotamia, where do you go up to? Afghanistan. What's right on top of Afghanistan? Bukhara. We're on the Silk Road. We're right there. It's the same line. Understand? Now, it happens to be, since Bukhara was on the Silk Road, many of us also has European blood inside of us. Because many people went there for trade. For Harnasat Tova. You understand? So therefore, we also have a little bit Greek blood, Saloniki blood. I have a friend, huh?
China and India.
There was a sizable Jewish community in Mumbai for generations. A friend of mine, I'm not going to say who he is, maybe he doesn't want me to say his name. He took a DNA test. Sephardi Bukhari Jew, a relative of mine. It's this DNA test is just for Sephardic Jews. It's called My Family Tree DNA, something like that. And he found out, this Bukharian Jew, that his DNA blood is 44% Mesopotamian, 18% Mizrahi, Sephardi, that means Spanish Mizrahi. Then you have 9% over there, Saloniki, Greek Saloniki, which is another big Jewish population until Yamach Shemo, I don't want to say that guy's name, and it's such a holy day, wiped them out. And the rest was basically everything from that side of the world. Ashkenazim come from mostly Italy, and they went to the Kalunimus family, was a very famous family. They were the Mekubale Ashkenaz. Rabbi Elazar Baal HaRokeach was one of the first Chasidei Ashkenaz. And then Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, and so we have their halachot all over. Not only they were big halachas, they were also big Mekubalim. The Jews that were in Worms, it's coming into a history class over here. The Jews that were in Worms, in Vermaisa, in Germany, the Ari was from Germany, by the way. His family was from Luria. Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, Ashkenazi. What's Ashkenazi? Ashkenaz is Germany. He was a German. His family, his father's side was German. And they came from the German river Luantz, Luria. That was the name of their family, and their Maharshal was his cousin. There's a famous story how he made Kfitzat Haderech, he took him out of jail, something like that. I don't like going too much into fables and legends. I like something more with Faradim. By us, you never find a story, a guy came out of his mother's stomach, he knew all of Shas. By the Italians and the European Jew, you have something like that. He was 9 years old, he knew all of Shas, this, that. You're never going to find a story by the Sfaradim ever. Rashi was French. It's different. Ben Ish Chai was a Babylonian all the way. From generation. Listen, it's not for nothing, the Sfaradim are very connected to the Minhagei Bavel. Well, all the rabbis I just mentioned today are all who? They're all Babylonian. Talmud, Bavli. We're all connected to them. Now, so what I want to say,
About the Ashkenazim, the Sephardim, Which tribe are the Ashkenazim? Is there a way?
I found a very amazing thing. Now I cannot make a.
Has to be a tribe because
right.
every tribe was destroyed by the
Right.
Jewish. Against Jews.
We all know that the 10 tribes are gone,
Yeah.
right? But whoever learns Nevi'im, and unfortunately nobody learns Nevi'im, we all know twice during the first temple there was an influx of the 10 tribes into Judah. There was twice an influx. One was under a great king called Asa. Asa HaMelech. There is King Salman. His son was what? Rechavam. After Rechavam, that means probably that's it. After him, nobody knows the kings of the tribe of Judah. They're done, huh? They're 2 for 2 tonight. Aviyam, and Divrei Yamim is called Aviyah, right? Aviyah, same thing. Who's his son? Aviyah's son was Asa. So the fourth king from King Solomon was Asa. He was known as a great tzaddik, a huge tzaddik, but he didn't really believe in the rabbis too much. He believed in the doctors. Now, today, it's not such a big deal. Why? Because Ruach HaKodesh is very diminished. What we call Ri'iyah Nivu'it is very diminished today. There are rabbis who have it today. I'm not going to say there isn't. But it could sometimes come very muddled, very befuddled. You know what I'm saying? But back then, they had prophets. Now, when I say prophets, I'm not talking about the later prophets. I'm talking about the early prophets. So a guy had a problem, for example. He wouldn't go to the doctor. Where he would go? To the prophet. He would go to the Rav. Now, the prophet happened to be the Rav too, the Rav of the city. Asa didn't believe in the rabbis, in the prophets. Who did he go to? The doctors. So the Torah doesn't look at him in such a nice way. But during his time, he had a very similar war to Gog and Magog, where the whole continent of Africa went to war against Israel. It's written in the books of Chronicles, the whole Africa, the Kushim, went up against Asa, and he beat them. When the Jews in the 10 tribes saw that he won, there was a huge influx of the tribe of Ephraim and Shimon into Judah. A huge influx. They migrated to Judah. And when they thought he was Mashiach. But then he messed up big time and he died in a very bad disease. Because he didn't believe in the Chachamim, he believed in the Rofim. And so Hashem said, you believe in the Rofim, let them find you a cure. And at the end he died from a disease he had in his legs. Some say he had podagra. You know what podagra is? What?
Gangrene?
No, when you have crystals in your leg. Gout. He had gout. Very bad gout that he didn't have a cure for, and it went into his bloodstream, and he Asa HaMelech. But he was a big tzaddik. Don't get me wrong. It was in his level that he messed up. Now there was a second time there was a big influx of the 10 tribes into Am Yisrael. Remember, right after Chizkiyahu HaMelech defeated Ashur, the Assyrian kingdom, when he died, Hashem said, "You messed up big time." Why? What did he do wrong? He didn't sing a song on the night when the miracle happened to him. But that wasn't his biggest mistake. You know what his biggest mistake was? When the Babylonians saw that God stopped the day. That means it was extra day that day. They would send delegates to Chizkiyahu HaMelech. And he told his wife to serve them. He told his wife, I think her name was Shalom, if I don't remember, that was his mom's name. Because the Bukharians have a very famous name, Shalom. That's from the Nevi'im, by the way. It's a proof that Bukharians used to learn Nevi'im. So he told his wife to serve them. You go to a party, the hostess serves, right? And she enjoyed it. To show her beauty, to show herself. Even though it's not what you think. She was wearing heels and a tight skirt. She was mamash at tzaddiket. But the fact that he allowed his wife out there without tzniut to serve the Babylonian delegates, the Gemara says Hashem looked very badly upon it. And he told Chizkiyahu HaMelech, who are these people that are coming to visit you? And he said, Hashem, don't you know who they are? He was a Navi. They came to see the greatness of Israel. He said, oh yeah? But you think I'm asking you, I don't know. Where is your humbleness? He said, pick which one. I'm destroying Yerushalayim. For what? What did he do? It's a long story. I'm not going to explain the whole story over here. But he said, I'm going to destroy Yerushalayim. Pick which one you want. In your days or in your kids' days? He says, Hashem, please do it in my kids' days. As long as my days, everything is good. I get to pass away at Shalom. This is Chizkiyahu HaMelech. Shalom alayich nafshi I want it to be... No, he's the 11th descendant from Shalom. He's the 11th king from Judah. He says, I'd rather it be in my... And that's what happened. In his grandson's time, King Yoshiyahu, he destroyed the 2 Egel HaZahavs in the tribe of Israel. And when he did that, there was a huge influx of the 10 tribes into Israel. So sitting over here might be people from the tribe of Yosef, from the tribe of Gad, Shimon. Shimon is very probable, by the way. Because the tribe of Shimon lived very close to Judah. So it's very probable that many people from here are from the tribe of Shimon. But there was an influx. But the great majority was from the tribe of Yehuda and Benjamin. Now who's who? Is Ashkenazim from Benjamin and Sephardim from Yehuda? Or the other way around? So the truth is, Ashkenazim say they're from Yehuda and we're from Benjamin. We say we're from Yehuda and they're from... Because everybody wants to be related to who? David. Not specifically to Yehuda, but to David HaMelech. We all want to be from royalty. There is a Migaleh Amukot. A Migaleh Amukot. That's Rav Natan Shapira. He writes like this in the Migaleh Amukot. It's in Rashi and the book of Shoftim. He writes like this: there was a civil war between the Jewish people, the tribe of Benjamin versus all the 10 tribes. You guys all know the story Pelegish Begiva, when the concubine ran away, and then it says over there, 500 men from the tribe of Benjamin survived. The whole tribe, only 500 men, kids, children, everybody wiped out, women, children, everybody. But if you count the people, there's supposed to be an extra, I think, 300 men. Don't catch me on the number. An extra 300 men. So the Migaleh Amukot writes over there, what happened to those 300 men? So he writes over there, Eliyahu Hanavi revealed to me those 300 men traveled to Europe and they founded the city of worms. In Ashkenaz. And the descendants of all the Ashkenazim come from them. So that's a Migaleh Amukot. I don't want to paskin based on that. I don't know what's the verdict, but I'll give you another proof. That Sfaradim are from Yehuda. What's the proof? Throughout the generation, there's a very big fight. Who has the Olam HaTorah? Who has the world of the Torah? Now you look at it today, the Ashkenazic world outnumbers the Sfaradim 10-1. Literally 10-1. But Sfaradim have something very interesting, that even the Am Haaretz in us, he loves it. And what is that? Torah Hasod. Even though the Ari was in Ashkenazi, but all the Torah Hasod today is in the hands of Sephardim. For some reason, the Sephardi has an affinity. He has a drive. He has a pull towards the secrets of the Torah. That's saying a lot, because the Ari HaKadosh says that people who love the Sod come from the secret of Etz HaChaim. You know, in the Gan Eden, there were 2 trees, Etz HaChaim and Etz HaDat. Correct? And what's the name of the Ari's work? Etz HaChaim. Now, it happens to be that Rav Chaim Vital, his name was Chaim, so he made him put the name of his book, Etz HaChaim, but he put it on purpose like that, to show that whoever learns the Sod comes from the root soul of Etz HaChaim, while the Pshat is Etz HaDat Tov Vara. Why? When you learn Pshat, there is Tameh, Tahor, Asur, Mutar. By Sod, there is no such kind of thing. There's no such kind of thing. By Sod, something is Tameh. Nothing is Tameh in Sod. Everything is the Ein Sof. Everything is godliness. Just where are you on the road of the revealment of Hashem? That's the whole story over there. The closer you are to Him, the less klipa you have on Him. The farther you are, the more klipa you see. That's why you see Mekubalim, for example, it's very hard for them to get angry. They see a person who's off the derech, this, that, they can't get angry at the person. They love him. Because they don't see a klipa. What do they see? A kedusha that's waiting to be revealed. The opposite you see by the etzadat tovera, the pshat. What do you see by them? You go into hell. Now, I'm not saying that's not important. Some people need that. They need that. But you don't see that by the Sod world. It's impossible, because it's just a bunch of, and even when they speak about Gehenom, it's full of love. It's like, don't worry, we'll be there with you. Even over there, Avraham Avinu is there to save a person that never did an Avera with a Goya. With a Goya. Brit, everybody does. But with a Goya. Talking about Shovavim. If a person doesn't do an Avera with a Goya, or he does Tikkun in Shovavim for that, it's guaranteed that what? That Avraham Avinu takes him out. It's a Gemara, Masechet Eruvin. Tell me I'm wrong. Open up the Gemara. I think it's page 50. It's 50 something over there. Whoever doesn't know, Avraham Avinu takes him out. Not by the peot. Not by the Avraham Avinu comes and takes him out. How do you make a tikkun for the Shovavim?
Friday.
Yeah. Oh, this Friday we do happen to have, I'm very proud, one of my big accomplishments of life is to make a... So what's your accomplishment of life? I bought a building, I bought a house. What's your accomplishment in life? You made a tani with 10 guys in a shul. You know, the irony of the Yid versus the Umot HaOlam. But this Friday we are having a ta'anit over here of Shovavim. We only do twice in Shovavim. During the 8 weeks of Shovavim, like last year we do it 3 times, but this year we're only doing it twice. This year, we do usually first week and last week. Sometimes we do it on the Parshat Beshalach, which is the strongest week of Shovavim. That's how we started this whole thing with Ashkenazim and Sfaradim. Why come Ashkenazim don't have the Shovavim thing? They do. You guys just don't know where it's written. The book of Elazar Rokeach, Hasidei Ashkenaz. But everybody kept the Shovavim, but the strongest weeks of the Shovavim are the first week, Shemot, which is this week. The last week, Mishpatim, because everything goes according to the beginning and everything goes according to the end. But there's 1 week in the middle that's very strong, which is the week of Az Yashir Moshe. Parashat Beshalach. Beshalach is the strongest week. The fifth Aliyah, right? When you do Az Yashir Moshe, in that moment, right now, in your Shorosh Neshama, there's an Az Yashir Moshe happening. Whoever gets the Aliyah, of course. And at that moment, you could be melaket all of your nitzotzot. Tonight, I'm going to learn, b'zut of Salman Mutzufi, a couple of things. What causes Pegam Habrit? What causes? Because we have 6 weeks of Shovavim, we have a lot to speak about. So this week we're going to do a couple of things. We don't have a lot much time left, but a couple of things. What causes Pegam Habrit? What brings a person out? I don't like speaking about this conversation a lot, because I feel like the more you speak about it, the more you think about it. But since it's Shovavim time, and we have to speak about it, at least in a clean way, what are some things that stop? Because we know one thing, every Jew, every human being, forget about a Jew, every mammal, every amphibian, every organism in this world wants one thing. What is that? Parnasa. Everybody wants parnasa, right? Parnasa tova. The Yanuka says one should never daven for parnasa, you should daven for ashirut. If you're davening for parnasa, you're davening for...
Minimum.
Yeah, you're davening to sit well, right?
What is it?
But if you daven for ashirut, not ashirut, ashirut with an ayin. If you say ashirut, you're davening for happiness. That's also important. But you have to daven for ashirut with an ayin. It's easy to confuse them. Yeah, ashirut is richness. Now the truth is that a person has to know how to be a Yosef. A person has to know how to be a pipe. If you're not a pipe, which means if you ask for ashirut and your pipe has holes, what's going to happen to the ashirut? It's just going to spread to other things, right? That's what we say. A person could work on Fridays after chatzot, after mincha ketana. Let's say the 9th hour of the day, right? Where's Eliezer? Remember we learned about it? If a person works after mincha ketana, he doesn't see bracha in his parnasa. What does that mean? He doesn't see bracha in his parnasa. What does that mean? You're going to make money. You're going to make it. But you're going to pay a ticket. Yeah? You ever have it that sometimes there's 1 or 2 months that you just suddenly get 3 or 4 tickets? Yeah. You understand? Where is this thing coming from? All that money was supposed to go to tzedakah. You're supposed to be a pipe. What's a pipe? How do you see a pipe in Hebrew? Tzinor. Flip the letters around, what do you get? Ratzon. To be a tzinor, you need the ratzon. If you don't have the ratzon, the will to be a tzinor, then you're not going to be a tzinor. So all those young guys who don't have a ratzon to fight for it, they're never going to be. They want to be like those influencers on YouTube and Instagram, and they think that the money is just going to drop on them. I heard one famous one went to jail. I don't want to say his name.
Rapper?
No, T and the A and the T. I don't want to say his name. It's Klipa. I don't want to say his name. I heard he went to jail.
He's out.
Ben Parat Yosef, Ben Parat Ale Ain. You know, all these stories are good stories to say to our children. Why? It says Ba'avod Risha'im Rina. You have to always make, because people always complain, how come tzaddikim suffer in this world? How come tzaddikim and the Risha'im have it good in life? But when Hashem puts the Risha'im down, we don't like to look at that. We're still fixated how the tzaddik is suffering. But look how Hashem puts down the Rishayim. I never forget how Andrew Cuomo, I say his name specifically. It was such a beautiful moment. How he got just humiliated. It was such a ba'avod rishaim reina. He stood over there in front of all. He was awarded an Emmy. You know what that is? For doing nothing, for giving a speech.
They took it away.
That people, Baruch Hashem, I mean, at least that. Everything was scripted, you know that, right? He's sitting over there and he's talking like he's some kind of professor. And finally, when they got the vaccines, when it looked like everything was over, he said, God didn't do this. That was very word. He said, we did it, or science? He said,
not even God.
Not even God could do it. The science, or said, we did it, science did it. And it was such a Chilul Hashem. It was such a Chilul Hashem. And then a couple of months later, boom, erased from the market. Done. And everybody's just like, yeah, sure, life goes on. But don't you see how Hashem takes care of Rishaim? We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. It was the amazing moment. It was mamash Yad Hashem. We have to say thank you to Hashem at those moments. It's a halakha. When a person's family member is seen, even his family member, is seen guilty by Sanhedrin, it's time to Beis HaMikdash. And he's put out Shalom to the death penalty. You're not allowed to sit Shiva for him. He was seen liable for skila, srefa, herek, v'chen. You can't sit Shiva for him. You have to dress in white and make a party. To make a party. Last week's Haftarah. Even if we should learn the Haftarah of the weeks. Even the Haftarah we should learn. I love the Haftarah. I love all the Nevi'im and Ketuvim. The Haftarah says King David's about to pass away. He's 70 years old. The man was a lion in his lifetime. Wanted to be killed by his brothers. Thrown away by his father. Almost killed by his father-in-law. Almost killed by his son. Another rebellion by... The man only lived for 70 years. How many rebellions could you pass for? Something bad happens to us in our life, that's it. It's the end of the world. We feel, suddenly we get the flu. Oh, why Hashem... What did you experience already in your life? You're living in Gadaev. Anyways, he went through a lot in his life. He's about to die. He calls his son Shlomo. How old is Shlomo over here?
13.
How much? 14? 12. You guys are all in the ballpark. 12. 12 years. Not even bar mitzvah. You know what I'm telling you? Not even bar mitzvah. The guy, he's supposed to be the smartest man alive. Shlomo didn't live a long time. He lived how long? 52. Very good. 52 years. That's it. Ben. 52. All of his... But listen, 1,000 wives is going to do that to you. So, 50... He's 12 years old. Now, he has a job right now to build the base of it. He has to unite the tribes. His father started, but his father was a warrior. He's a man of peace. People don't respect peace. They respect power. People respect power, right? I see this in school all the time. Kids respect power. They like authority. They like authority, right? Even if the authority is... They love the other one, but they respect authority. They love the teacher with love, but they won't respect him. Because they know you could trample him on top of him. But they respect a person with authority. Even the Goyim say it in Machiavelli. Respect is something only brought by authority. So David HaMelech tells Shlomo HaMelech, listen, you're a man of peace, but before you start your peaceful conquest, I need you to take for me revenge for a couple of guys. The kid, he's 12 years old. So he tells him, I had a general that defeated all my enemies. He happens to be your cousin. He's my nephew. Yoav ben Tzeruiah. Yoav, you know who Yoav was? He killed all the Amalekim cities single-handedly. They put him on a catapult. They threw him in. He recuperated. He made himself a nice sword and he started slaughtering people. The man was a legend. A legend. He says, I need you to kill him for me. I can't do it because I need Hakarat Hatov. I have appreciation. Exactly. I have appreciation. But you better kill him for me. You know what Rashi says? Something unbelievable. It changes the whole understanding of what David HaMelech did. You think David HaMelech was looking for revenge? David says, kill him in this world so he won't go to Gehinnom in the next world. Look at Rashi. When I first read that Rashi, I had goosebumps. What was David HaMelech thinking about when he did all of that? Unbelievable. What was it? Wasn't revenge. He was trying to save Yoav from Gehenom so he could have Gan Eden. And even then, Shlomo was punished for killing him because Yoav was Rosh Sanhedrin of the city. You think he was just some general whacking people with some stars over here? Who, Yoav? Yoav tricked 2 other generals into killing them. He asked them a halacha while they were showing them the halacha. He took his dagger and he... Because they killed his brother.
He has the right.
He has the right, but he should have done it with a Sanhedrin. He did it with on his own accord because he was Rosh Sanhedrin.
So that's it.
You have to understand one thing, that all these rabbis, all this chachamim back then, there was no Gemara back then. What do I mean by that? Halacha was halacha. The first machloket that ever happened was when? In the second Beit HaMikdash. That was the first time halacha. And what was the machloket? Whether you do smicha on an animal on Yom Tov. That was the machloket. The first machloket that happened ever. That was the time of the Greeks. The Greeks made us all crazy. So when we look at our history, at Klal Yisrael, all of our forefathers were Kodesh, Kodashim, Mamash Kodesh Kodashim. But Kodesh Kodashim only comes from one thing, Tikkun HaBrit. Now, I don't want to sound cliche because I know many rabbis speak about Tikkun HaBrit. That's why I try to keep away from this subject, at least for the past good couple of years. Only in Shavim, I dedicate maybe 1 or 2 shiurim, and in Elul, maybe 1 shiur to this. So I want to tell you something we could use. Something, and I have the board over here, a kavana, something. What causes Pegam HaBrit? This book was written, it's called Karnot Tzadik. It's a very rare book. Not many people own it. It's written by the Ben Ish Chai's father's Chavruta, of Eliyahu Saliman Mani. Karnot Tzadik is called. And this book, he writes 18, 19 things that causes a person's Yetzer Hara for the Keri, for the Brit, to rise up. 18, 19. I'm going to only read you 2 or 3 of these things. Alright? And all these things are common sense. They're common sense. I picked 4 or 5, 6 of them. You want to say that? Say that. I'm starting from the 4th one. What's the 4th one? Hu hadibur hayetera im haisha. When you speak too much to the opposite gender, it's a spiritual thing. You guys think it's a physical thing. It's not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. The speech, the hevel that comes from her mouth, causes the Satan of Keri to rise up in a man. He has no ta'ala for her. Nothing. He wouldn't even think of her. Just the dibur, the nonsense dibur to speak to her raises up the klipat of Keri to the point where either he'll see it at night or either he'll have the Yetzirah. Now, Keri, that's the Aveira that comes out, the seminal emission. It's Kuf, Reish, Yud. Correct? Kuf, Reish. If you flip around the letters, what are you going to get? Yakar. What's Yakar? Zolata. It's gold. It's expensive, valuable. So Keri is equal to something that's Yakar, valuable. If you have Keri, you lose the Yakar. You lose the Parnasa. You lose it. I have Parnasa, or this Rasha has a Parnasa. Number 1, you don't know what he's meant to do. And number 2, you don't know where he's going to fall very soon. Once again, we love to see how Rishaim are enjoying themselves, but we don't see when Rishaim, when they fall. We don't pay attention to that. Okay? You have to be Motzi Yakar Mizolel. Now, how do you say coincidence in Hebrew? Also, Keri. God says in Parashat Bechor, if you're going to go with me, Bekeri, if you're going to go, everything is a coincidence. V'halachti imachem b'chamat Keri. I'm going to go with you 7 times the Keri. Where is this Parashat? B'chukotai. In those 49 curses over there, that Hashem says, you're going to go with me, I'm not going to take you to as slaves in boats. I'm not going to make you eat each other's meat. I'm not going to make you do shish kebab to each other. I'm going to go with you with Keri. That's the worst curse. when you take a person's parnasa and he's forced to beg, to ask for tzedakah, that's the worst feeling in the world. It's the worst feeling. How do you keep it? By keeping the carry and turning it into yakar. I want to tell you one thing. I'm not gonna skip it. The number one tikkun, besides for the fasting and shalom that we do and the staying up all night, the number before you do anything, kriyat shema al hamita, the whole thing, not just Shema Yisrael, I'm going to sleep. Kriyat shema al hamita. There's so many kavanot over there. Every night you could kill up to 1,200, I think 26 mazikim. On Shabbat you could kill 10 times that amount. I wanted to tell you, how do you say Kriyat Shema al hamita? What's the first letter? Kuf, Reish, Yud. Kriyat Shema, the first 3 letters is what? Carry. You want to fix your carry? Kriyat Shema al hamita specifically. Only Kriyat Shema al hamita does the right job. By the way, you should know that. And where specifically, I said this in many of my shiurim, I'm going to repeat it to you again. These things need chizuk. It needs chizuk. It needs chizuk. After you say Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, you have to think of the 3 times 72, 72, 72, Ab. Then Rayo Kedem. Kedem is 72 plus 144. Altogether it's going to be Cherev. Cherev, the 2 double-edged sword. And you have to have in mind that you're killing all those nishamot that you create. It's a serious thing, guys. You know, kids are not allowed to go after their father's grave when they bury them. Kids are not allowed to, they shouldn't, not that they're not allowed, but they shouldn't. When they bury their father, they shouldn't bury their father. Why did the Chachamim institute that? Because it's a sakana for their neshama. Because all their other kids are there too. And they want to cut up the will between them. And by the way, all those carries that a person has, even if it wasn't on purpose, it was in his sleep. Even if it was in his sleep, but he had a nice dream. I mean, compared to who you're asking, it depends who you're asking. All those neshamot go inside Lamed Yud Taf and get her pregnant.
What if he didn't have a dream?
If he didn't have a dream and it just happens because it just happened, he ate too much, he slept on his stomach, all this and that, it still is something that it creates mazikim, but it's not as bad as if he had a dream. And another tikkun I want to say, any person who was with his wife, mikvah night, whatever the case is, or he had carry, the chida writes in Sipor and Shamir. If he goes to mikvah that day, it wipes out the aver. Not on purpose, it happens because by accident, or you did the mitzvah all night. If he goes to the mikvah that day, it wipes off the avera. The Rambam. When is the Hillula of the Rambam? In 3 days. Also, Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chazira is in 3 days. Thursday night, I believe. Yeah. Rabbi Yaakov, the Rambam says, in my life, I never canceled Tfilat Ezra. Rambam, Pshat. In my life, I never canceled Tfilas Ezra. Mikvah is amazing. But I want to say, Al Yedei Sheben Adam, by a person, is talking too much with a woman. Right? He doesn't have to. Business is over. Now the flirting part comes. Now the nonsense part comes. Right? Ritzel Omar, Lamed Yud, I don't want to say her name, Lamed Yud Tov. She comes and she's called Ra'a, evil. Ba'ela umetameto bekeri umevatlo medivrei Torah. What's the whole point of carry? That a person should feel so depressed that he had it that he shouldn't want to learn Torah right now. Because depression is just, he's going to say in the next one, depression is just a continuation of what? The carry that comes from Lamed Yud Tov. You know what the name means, Lamed Yud Tov. It means Yelala. What's Yelala? To cry in agony. To always complain. Why is this happening to me? There's another Satan called Machalat. It's 2 sisters, by the way. One is Lamed Yud Tov. One is Machalat. Machalat she gets her way by the opposite, by being too much of a letzan. A letzan is a clown. There's happiness in Torah. It's good to be happy, right? B'dichuta, to get into a good spirit. Then there's letzanut. Letzanut is getting into the thing, not out of simcha, but out of hefkerut, sarcasm, hefkerut, being a clown. if you will. That's not Kedusha. That's the Klippa. That's why Purim is a very dangerous time. Purim is coming up. Rav Natan Mebreslev writes, after Hanukkah ends, I spend the next 2 months just preparing for Purim. Why? What's Purim? What's Purim? The drunkenness that's allowed to a person. How do you say drunk in Hebrew? Shikor. Switch the letters, what do you get? Kasher. During the year, you have to be kasher. You're not allowed to be a shikor. And Purim, they allow you to be a shikor. But if the shichrut brings you to carry, there's no point of the you do the opposite. You did the opposite power. You fell down into the klipa. You understand? The person has to be careful when it comes to shichrut. And we see Lot fell into the avera with his daughters because he was shikor. David HaMelech and Naval, right? Naval was a shikor. That's how he died. Noah was a shikor. Shichrut, by the way, Nadav and Avihu, they said that they were drunk, right? Too much out. Now the shichrut, it's a dangerous thing because the Torah on one hand allows it, right? A cup of wine for kiddush, and the other is don't be a shikor, because the opposite of shikor is what? Kasher. So either you have kashrut or you have shichrut. What's the fine line between them? So the Gemara says in Masechet Eruvin, Rav Nachman, not Mebreslev, Rav Nachman of the Gemara, wouldn't learn Gemara until he had a cup of wine. Why? 1 cup makes the da'at calm.
Relax.
But if he would have more than that, he said I couldn't learn. That's our problem. We don't have the izun, the balance. And what's the balance? The balance is the middle column. And what's the mamish, the middle column? The yesod. If a person's yesod is kasher, then he's not going to get shikor. But if his yesod is not kasher, then he's going to get a shichrut. He's going to get shichrut. One more thing I'm going to say, I'm going to let you go, and this is my favorite one. As a teacher in high school, I say that Baal Shem Tov, whenever he used to see somebody do an Aveira, he used to say, this Aveira really is talking to himself, right? You just have to know how to translate it. So I always am in a very good safek. Because we know kids these days, they don't watch what comes out of their mouth. Bad words, derogatory words, foul words, very bad ones, right? I have a kid in my class, for example, one of my classes. There's a Bukharian curse, I don't want to say, Juni, you guys, I don't want to say what it is. And this student hates this teacher. There's one teacher he hates, not me. And every time this kid comes, this kid's really Bukharian. He mamash comes out of the way. I'm saying, why Hashem makes me hear these things? I don't know why. Because the one thing I'm always mafit since I was a kid, just naturally, it's a natural. Every person has a natural mitzvah that they do, and when he sees somebody else do the opposite, he's repulsed by it. Everybody here has one. You just have to know how to see it. For me, it's nivlut peh. One thing I hate in my life is derogatory words. I hate a bad word from a person's mouth. For me, it's worse even than pigam habrit. It's mamash. If I would charge $100 for every single time, I would be a rich man. It says the only problem is I have to enforce it. It says what causes pigam habrit? Nivlut hapeh. When a person is minavil, his mouth is dirty, you know for a fact this guy, he falls in pegam habrit. Pegam habrit, nivlut peh doesn't mean a bad word only. It also means a word that hurts somebody. Lashon hara is the next one. Nivlut hapeh. Person is minavel hapeh. He makes his mouth into a toilet. Chutz mikvotchem. He makes his mouth into a disgusting thing. You know for a fact this guy, his brit is not kosher. Whoever makes a pagam in his lashon, who bali de carry. For sure he comes to carry. Says Rav Eliyahu Mani. Rav Eliyahu Saliman Mani, the Rebbe of the Ben Ish Chai. More than this you want? More than this you want? One more just to end the night. one more. And this is something, the last one, which I'm very careful about. I used to teach over here in this shul, Otzrot Chaim. Those blue books on the side over there, Otzrot Chaim of the Ari HaKadosh.
Can't wait to go back.
Yeah, I also can't wait to go back.
Yeah, I wonder when.
And the reason I stopped and also stopped putting them online because I was very afraid of this this over here, number 8. המגלה סודות התורה למי שאינו ראוי לגלות לו סוד. Whoever reveals the secrets of the Torah to people who are not worthy or ready to hear them, he also gets carried.
Wow.
So I was always besakana because, unfortunately or fortunately, depends who you ask, a lot of my listeners, they're not people with let's call it Otzrot Chaim material. And when I speak these kind of Sodot Torah, I'm always very afraid of this. Even the Rabbi Daftaya says in our days, you're never allowed to kick anybody out. But he's talking about Jewish people. If I have a Jewish guy who wants to come and learn Etz Chaim to me, I have an obligation to tell him I have to learn with you. Because I have that knowledge and I have to teach him. But I also have an obligation to give him a condition. That means I am giving him my time. He also has to give me something of himself. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about some condition that he has to work on himself too. If a person wants to learn, I have to teach him. But if he's not worthy, he could take I'll take the most extreme case. That guy who made himself into a religion. I don't want to say his name. Yeah. He was a Talmid Chacham. You guys know that, right? He wasn't a Shlamazel. He was a Talmid Chacham. But he used his knowledge for his own benefit. I never forget, I used to have this guy I used to learn with, a very smart guy. I got him very far in Otzrot Chaim. I stopped learning with him eventually. I couldn't continue. Every time I used to learn with him, he says, how can I use this for that? In my life, learning the secrets of Torah, I never asked myself this question one time. Never! How can I use this for my own benefit?
Maybe he meant to say, how can I utilize it?
I don't think so.
He wants to use
I don't think so. Because I give him a lot of chances. But that question shows that you could be very smart. There's a difference between a tzaddik and a Talmid Chacham. Either you're a tzaddik or either you're a Talmid Chacham. It's very hard to find a person that's both. That means you could be a tzaddik, but you're not going to be the smartest, cup of soup. But you could be a big Talmid Chacham. And a lot of times we over here, we're drawn after the Talmid Chacham because we see he's so smart. He knows so much. He must be a tzaddik. But you never know. Sometimes it's those tzaddikim that are very humble and they don't really know that much, but they worked on their midot. They're the tzaddik. And the tzaddik is a person who has a ratzon, a will. And a ratzon is a tzinor, a pipe. And through that pipe, he gives brachot to everybody. And that's why all of us over here, we run to get brachot from who? From tzaddikim. From tzaddikim. Hopefully all of us over here, which I hope we're all Talmidei Chachamim, will turn into tzaddikim too. And with Hashem Yitbarach, we just started Shabbat. I want to remind you guys, this Friday, whoever wants to join us, we have a ta'anit over here from the morning until Kenisat Shabbat. Just like Adam Hari, there's a special thing to fast on Fridays in Shabbatim because when I was trying to get married, I was doing all the sigulot on the book. I was a yeshiva guy, what did I know? I spoke to 5 women my whole life. My mother, my grandmother, my 2 aunts, and my sister. That's it. I didn't know how to go on a date. Sisters, yeah. You're good. So I didn't know how to go out on a date. Nothing. So, but of course, I'm a person with emunah, so I did all the sigulot in the book. The biggest thing that I did was ta'aniyot of Shabbatim. I used to travel all the way to Williamsburg every Friday. I used to make a ta'anit with a yeshivat mekubalim over there. You understand? Every Friday. I used to come home right before Shabbat. Jump into the shower, come out. I used to give big tzedakah too. Every ta'anit. And I saw big yeshuot from that. I try to share this with you guys. Of course, everybody according to their level. A person has to know how to stop his averot too. Pegam ha'inayim, he has a big chidush over here that, we say there's 3 brits, right? There's the Brit HaTorah, Brit HaLashon, Brit HaMaor. There's also a Brit HaEnayim. There's a lot of power in a person's Einayim. A lot of power. And we all have to try our best to be mitaken our neshama, because we don't want to come back here in a Gilgul. Go get married again, and find a job again, and we want to finish it now, and that's it. Hopefully Mashiach is going to come by the time we're done. Hopefully. But this Friday, whoever wants to join us, you want to join us, Matovo Manaim. You want to do it in your own shul, you want to do it by yourself, Matovo Manaim. Whoever wants to do it, I'm here to help you how to do it. We fast from Friday morning until Kiddush. You could start Kiddush earlier, by the way. You don't have to start Kiddush mamash at Tzeta Kochavim. Shabbat you could accept earlier. Let's say I want to do Kiddush at 4 o'clock. You could do that. Understand? Understand? And the mincha before you accept upon yourself the fast. We do a pidyon. You give whoever how much you can. Person that doesn't have the means, $18, $84 if you have a lot of means. If you want to give more, matovu manaim, you give tzedakah, and you say you want to give tzedakah somewhere else, give somewhere else. It doesn't make a difference. And then over here we make tfilat aneinu of the Rashash. And this tfilat aneinu, we try to fix 5 averot of pegama yesod. 5. I don't want to get through them. It's a bit, it's a bit graphic. But there's 5 averot. We have the tefillah in English, something that I wrote myself a couple of years ago. We have the tefillah in Hebrew, a small version of it, and I do it with the kavanot of the Rashash. If you want to join us, matovu manaim. If not, you want to do it by yourself, you could do it yourself. You're at work or something. But 1 o'clock over here is tefillat mincha gedolah this Friday. I hope you guys join us. May all of you guys over here be blessed. והשירות מופלגת. ברכה והצלחה. שעות גדולות. וכל הברכות וההצלחות, זיווגים הגונים, רפואה שלמה. You guys see ביאת משיח צדקנו ברוך ה' לעולם. אמן ואמן.